This is the podcast, Playing Above the Line, where we get into the details of what it is that's made entrepreneurs and business leaders successful. Hi, I'm Dennis Sheeran, and I'm a business leader with Hartman, Blackman, and Kilgore. I've been the managing shareholder of HB&K for many years and have worked with local businesses to learn what makes them successful throughout their career.
And I'm Alan Cave. I'm also a shareholder at HB&K, a full-service accounting and business consulting firm. During our careers, Dennis and I have both been fortunate to work with many successful businesses and their owners, as well as other leaders throughout the accounting profession and beyond. We're happy to share some of their stories with you. On this episode, we're joined by Melissa McNichol. Melissa is the Executive Director of Camp Rappahope. In this role, Melissa has an incredible opportunity to work with many volunteers, donors, and camp staff members who have made Camp Rappahope a 32-year success. Camp Rappahope is a nonprofit organization that offers free fun through year-round programs for children diagnosed with cancer and their families. Well, Dennis, good afternoon. It's another beautiful day. How are you?
I am wonderful. Looking forward to today.
As am I. So today's guest is Melissa McNichol. Melissa, welcome. Thank you for coming today and for taking a few minutes out of your, what I know is a very busy schedule, to visit with us.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, and I don't think mine's any busier than yours right now. So I couldn't say no.
Very good. We'll start just by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then what your current role is today.
Okay. I am a Baldwin County girl. Both my parents actually graduated from Fairhope High School, which
go
did
Pirates.
Yep. I have lived in Baldwin County my whole life. I was in real estate a while back, and then kind of got stolen away from that to Camp Rappahope, which I've been a part of now for 18 years. I am the executive director of Camp Rappahope, and we are year-round programming for kids with cancer.
Just to back up, and we'll talk about Camp Rappahope, obviously, a good bit. But so real estate, how did you come about doing that? And then what made you decide to make the change from real estate to something that's totally different, really?
Oh, it is. It is completely different. But my dad was in real estate, and he traveled my whole life growing up. There were 4 of us girls, and when we hit teenage years, he decided to take a traveling job. Who could blame him, right? 4 teenage girls.
Time is a little suspect. But,
right. Then he retired from his long-time profession and went into real estate, and he thought I would enjoy it and wanted me to come work with him. And so it was an opportunity to spend real time with my dad, and my sisters were quite jealous, which I was glad about. And so I did that for lots of years, and I actually became his boss. He was a realtor. I was the broker of the company. So that was really a good time, and I really did enjoy it. But one of my best friends was involved with Camp Rappahope when they decided to take it from a volunteer organization to grow it up and become, kind of bigger and serve differently. And she recommended me for the job, and here I am 18 years later.
So tell more about how Camp Rappahope started. It's been around a long time.
Yes, we are just over 33 years old, and we were founded by the Medical Society of Mobile County and the Alliance to the Medical Society of Mobile County, and that's the professional organization for physicians. They founded us all those years ago. The first year we had 12 campers, and now we are generally over 80, and it was just a one-week camp at that point, and now it's all year.
So you reach a lot of children and their families. So about how many children do you serve every year, and then through what programs? Because I know that you have the week-long camp, but I mean, it's more than just that these days.
It is. We serve approximately 300 families along the Gulf Coast, from about Panama City to just west of New Orleans. And so about 300 families each year. We have a week-long summer camp, as we said, and that's residential, come in on Sunday, leave on Saturday. We have 2 different weekend camps for teens. We have a sibling weekend that's specific to the siblings, which is such a true need. The siblings have a different diagnosis than a child with cancer, and so we're trying to meet those needs as well. We have a family day where we invite all the family, kind of why we named it Family Day. And our last one, we had over 400 people attend that event. We go deep sea fishing every year, plus myself and my staff, we go to the hospitals and actually meet families right after diagnosis and let them know this is a terrible journey, but there can still be fun and life to live, and we're going to help you live it big. And that's what we try to do, and we do that all free for these families.
How do you find out about those families that you go and visit in the hospitals?
Most of it is either peers where moms or dads are in the hospital in the hallways and they meet each other and they'll say, hey, have you heard about camp? Because this is here and you can have this. But also the physicians and the nurses, child life specialists in all of the hospitals along the Gulf Coast are they just so much believe in the difference camp can make for these families that they tell about us. They talk about us every chance they get, and then they invite us in, and we get to meet them.
You're the executive director. How many full-time staff do you have?
There's a total of 4. So there's 3 that work with me in the office that are full-time staff.
So 4 full-time staff, but then the number of volunteers that you have is how many?
Hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds, yeah. For Camp Week, if we have 80 campers, we will have no less than 100 grown-ups at camp at all times. And then during the day, we have different groups that come in that might help put on a program or help with arts and crafts or something. So our numbers during the day are pretty high, too.
Where is Camp Arapahoe?
Well, our office is right now is at Airport in Florida, but we use Camp Grace, which is just out past the Mobile Airport.
Great facility out there.
Oh, it is. It's like glamping. We have air conditioning, but our kids need that little extra help, so it's nice to be there.
Tell us about some of the programs that a camper might be a part of during the week.
Well, it's traditional camping, so they're riding horses, doing arts and crafts. There's music. There's ropes course. There's canoeing and kayaking, swimming. It's everything you would see at a typical summer camp. Snow cones all day, popcorn all day, ice cream before bed, kind of a rule. We have bacon every day for breakfast. So, I know. Our camp food is not what you see in the movies. Our camp food is like super good. Like it's a highlight for many of these, especially our grown volunteers, our college age kids. They're like, oh, we get to eat. We get to eat this week. It's so good. But so it's typical camp. They stay in cabins with their friends that are their age, and they have counselors, and they sleep in bunk beds, and the showers and the bathrooms is a bathhouse. You have to walk to go to the bathroom. So it's typical camp. The difference is we have doctors and nurses there 24/7, and we actually have a volunteer that every day they drive kids into the hospital if they need to go get chemo or radiation or whatever. We actually take them in and bring them right back to camp.
And what ages does the camp serve?
The camp week is 7 to 17. Okay. Family day is 0 to 17, and our sibling weekend is 7 to 13, and we've only been doing this for 4 years, our sibling weekend. Our first year we had 12 kids. This past September we had 40. So that program is growing super quickly because of how desperate these families are to give these siblings something important.
So do you have past campers that come back and then volunteer?
We do. We have some that come back and stay the week as counselors. We have some that come back and just help with just specific areas at camp. Maybe they help in arts and crafts, or they help with horseback. And we have some that, just like any of us, camping's not really their thing, but they help with fundraising, or they help recruit other campers. Everybody has things they love, and not everybody likes bugs and sweat. So, and again, it's camp, so that might not be their strength, or maybe they're, not all of our campers get through childhood cancer unscathed as far as intellectually or emotionally, and they may not, be able to be a part of us as far as a counselor, but they still come to family day and participate, in other ways.
Well, let me ask you this, and I don't really know how to ask this question, but I know that you love what you do, as do the volunteers and your staff. But I would think that dealing with kids with cancer is a heavy situation sometimes. I mean, so how do you deal with? Because I'm just thinking about myself. I mean, I don't know. It pulls at your heartstrings. I know, and it would have to. So how do you kind of deal with that and kind of put a positive spin on what's a very, very trying situation?
Well, I've said this a lot in my 18 years of being with camp, is that Camp Arapahoe has or at least in my opinion and my job, my personal opinion is that I have the best job in a really bad career field. I really do, because my job is to bring as much joy as I can with whatever time they have and in whatever way they can. This week we lost one of our campers. We just, as in 3 days ago, lost a camper, which is the hardest part of what we do. Today, I've spent a good bit of our day doing some camp planning, doing some, just true bossy administrative stuff that isn't necessarily fun. Grant writing, the business of it. And it was kind of like, a day. And then the grandmother came by of the camper that we just lost. She just wanted to come visit a minute. She just needed something of the good that her grandchild had been given through cancer. And I was like, okay, this is why today was what it was. This is why today was difficult in some aspects, because those things have to happen in order for that grandmother to be able to come by and know that she's going to get a little bit of the happy, for lack of a better way to say that.
It's great. You get to give them a positive experience in a lifetime of positives, if you will. It was a neat story. You shared that before we started the show, and I really thought that was cool. I didn't think about that aspect of what you are with your families, helping those families, and so that's got to really be inspiring. I mean, it is to me. It's got to be inspiring to everyone to know you're doing that. So how many campers over the 33 years, or how many have been touched or been involved in some way? Just an estimate.
Oh, gosh, that's a big question. I'm going to say hundreds and hundreds.
Must
yes.
be.
Yeah.
Must be.
Cancer's just so mean, and it doesn't care where you live or who you are, and it will definitely change your life forever. And it does. It does.
You talked about 100 volunteers at camp.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about keeping all those volunteers focused and coordinated in the programs and managing that challenge.
Well, one thing that we are a part of is called ACA, American Camping Association. We're an accredited camp, and so that's an accredited organization that accredits all camps that want to be accredited, like, whether it's YMCA or Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, whatever, they actually accredit camps, and we are an accredited camp, and they give us great guidelines on how to train your volunteers, your staff, specific to camping. And then we're also a certified gold ribbon camp, which means we are certified through a camping organization that is specific to childhood cancer camp. So we learned so much through both of those organizations on how to train. Through our ACA, the camp accrediting, that's like generalizing and super important because camp is camp. And then the COCA one is geared to the emotional, the challenges that staffing and your campers endure during camp week. Because a lot of times you don't see cancer in a child. They may have all their hair, all their arms and legs, yet they're not okay. But you can't always see it. So there's a lot of training we do on that aspect of camp. But so just like any profession, I go to school. I get trained on how to train, and I have an employee right now who is just brilliant at training and has come in and we've rewritten a lot of training, and that's been just so great to stay on top of the way to train, because our counselors are 19 to 75. So learning and finding ways to train to each level can be challenging, but that's something we go to conferences to learn how to do.
Obviously, your counselors go through formalized training, but as far as volunteers, part of the 100, is there any kind of training that has to be taken before someone can come and volunteer for a week at camp, or what?
We do. Yeah. We actually have what we call a what visitors need to know form, and when they get to camp, they have to come to the lodge. They get some information prior to coming, and then they come to a check-in process, and we actually do a quick background check, through sexual, that database. We've got to make sure everybody's safe. And then they have to read a document about what our expectations are. And it's just to make sure they're having a good time too. And it's the things you should talk about and things you shouldn't talk about. And we also have to really protect the health of our kids. So many of them cannot be like around chickenpox, and there's things they can't be around. So we make sure our daily volunteers, like if you guys were to come, it's like, if you don't feel good, if there's anything about you that's not feeling well, please know we're not going to be mad if you say you can't be here. We need you not to be here. It really protects their life. So there's a whole system to be there. And it's again, to protect not just our campers, but you. We want you to be there and have a great time and really want to come back and support in the way that you can.
Switching gears just a little bit. Can you tell us what you think about when you think of leadership, and then maybe is there a person or two along the way that has kind of influenced your style or has given you even maybe what not to do, when it comes to leadership? Can you share some of that with us?
I loved the question, when you think of leadership, who do you think of? And I said Archie Manning, and because I'm a Southern girl, I watch football, especially college football. Sorry, I just do. It's what we do. I've actually had the privilege of meeting him. He did a fundraiser for us lots of years ago. But what I appreciate about him is what I feel like he did through adversity. everybody's probably too young to know about when he's, was quarterback at the Saints. They weren't so great, but he worked hard anyway. He did his best to serve the players, to serve the fans in the best way he could. And I think it appeared to me, thinking back on that, I didn't see him play either. I'm too young for that as well, but I do know the story. Come on, Dennis. We're too young for that. But if you're in charge or if you're the leader, you still have to lead, even when it's not going well. I feel like he probably worked at his craft and tried to improve himself to improve those around him. And I think you see that in his family. I think you see that in the community work he does. And to me, that's what's important, is that as a leader, you have to keep looking ahead, and you have to keep being willing to listen to a different perspective or a different way to lead, because everybody's different. I think as we were growing up, we probably saw the change even in education, where we realized some people hear by reading, some people hear by writing it themselves. So there's ways that people learn. Well, there's also ways to teach. And so I try really hard to think on those things and listen to new staff members or new ways to reach the audience, whoever that is, whether it's my campers, because how you talk to them is different each year, or, different seasons have different ways to be reached. And so I think that is what I think of sort of when I think of Archie Manning, because he had his own set of football life and how those changes were. And then he's helping his boys do the same thing. And how he talked with them and how he led them was different than, of course, how he was led with his own father. But he learned from that, and he wanted to make it better.
So looking back on your career, your real estate career, and the career in the business world, and then a wonderful career now with Camp Rappahoe and in the not-for-profit world, how do you think the last 18 years with Camp Rappahoe has influenced or affected your views on leading and leadership?
What I think I've realized most is unless it's life or death, you can take just a minute and make sure you're doing it right. And everything's not necessarily a yes or a no. There's sometimes some gray. I will tell you this. Some of the best advice I've gotten in my whole life is from my dad. And he said, if you can't say yes with conviction, it's a no. You can go back and change a no much easier than you can change a yes. And I feel like that's true. So I'm quick to say, give me just a minute. Let's think about this. But there are some things that are, of course, black and white. No, you cannot jump off that roof, of course, but unless it's in the lake, and then we'll talk about it. But, there's that's what I think I've learned, because what these families have is life and death. Most things aren't.
That's right. That's great.
That's great. So looking back, you've been at Camp Rappahoe for 18 years now. Looking forward the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what is your vision for the camp, and what would you like to see happen over the next few years as far as what you do and who you serve and that kind of thing?
Well, thank you for asking, because that's one of my favorite things to talk about is what's next. What can we do more of, and what can we do better? We are now serving our siblings, which was a burden on my heart from the minute I started, because I saw what that looked like. I saw when the campers came, they were getting T-shirts, they were meeting their counselors, and the siblings were nothing. They were just nothing. So after a few years, I stopped letting the campers get their gifts in front of the siblings, and the siblings got presents, and because the campers were getting it all week, and then so now we've got that going, and it's just so exciting. And the next two things I hope that we add, one would be a dad's weekend. Dads, as we're finding out more and more, are the next underserved group. Siblings are now being taken care of through our camp and other camps like us. And moms typically get taken care of. A girlfriend's going to say, hey, I'm taking you from the hospital. You're getting a pedicure. Just 30 minutes. You got to get out. That's not happening with the dads so much. If both parents are in the home, typically mom's got to quit working to be at all the hospital visits. So dad's doubling up. He's not at the hospital. He's not hearing straight from the doctor. It's just so hard for the dads, and they want to fix it, and they can't. So another camp, sister camp in Vermont, they started a dad's weekend several years ago, and they said it's growing as rapidly as our sibling weekend is. Our goal would be to give dads a chance to sit at the lake, put a pole in the water, talk to another dad, very organically, just talk about what this looks like to them. Maybe build a picnic table, maybe build benches to have out at camp so they're doing something where they feel like they've made a difference. I mean, it's not just they're at the office making money to keep health going, but that they're making a true hands-on difference. And so that's the first thing I hope we get to add before too long. And the next thing would be, because our camp starts at 7, a lot of times kids who are diagnosed early on, like as a 1-year-old or even younger, they're through with treatment by the time they're old enough to come to camp. So we might miss them some. But we're in the process now of restoring a building that was donated to us for an office and event space 3 doors down for Children's and Women's Hospital. So our goal is to start hosting maybe once a month or once a quarter a little pre-schoolish age event at the office where they can come and do artwork, or they can come make cookies or do something. And that way they get to know us all along. So when they are old enough to come to camp, parents are like, okay, it's time to go, because at 7, it's hard to give them to us at 7. I don't know that I would. I know it's the right thing, but it's still hard to do. But this would give the parents and the children from, like I said, from 1 on, an opportunity to really know us and to see what we can do for them.
Yeah, that's great. So, well, I know that you have the capital campaign going on, and so tell us, if someone wants to volunteer, if they would like to make a donation, how would someone go about doing, or anything else that you might need help with that our listeners can kind of pitch in and do? We
have a really user-friendly website. It says donate to the building.
That's easy.
Become part of the family. And it answers all those questions. So our website is just camprapahope.org, and you can see so many fun pictures and videos and really see what we're doing. And there are a lot of ways that you can support these families. Even if, like I said, it's not your thing to come to camp, I get that. Like, I don't love bugs either. But there are many, many ways to support camp throughout the year.
Great. So let's switch gears and start and get to know Melissa episode.
I hope I don't fail this part.
Episode. So the first thing that we always ask is, are you a reader?
Yes.
Okay, so give us a couple of books that have made an impact or that you just like.
I think my favorite book is called Redeeming Love. It's just an excellent book, and it's very perspective-bringing, so I really enjoy that. And then the other things I like are, you're going to laugh, probably, maybe not, Westerns. Old, I don't like to read anything that's new and scary and violent. I don't mind a little gunfighting in a Western, but, reality where we are right now is a lot. And what I do every day can be a lot. So I like to just, if I'm reading, it's just for entertainment.
Well, Dennis, do you have I've been the question asker.
Yeah, you've been doing all these questions. I'll ask you the other question we throw out there sometimes. What are you listening to? You listening to podcasts? Yes. Favorite music?
Yes, I listen to sports radio.
Okay.
And I listen to...
Danny Cordy is thanking you right now, because that's the same answer he had. And he was the only guy that said sports radio.
I really do. If you went and right now you looked at all my saved stations, it's Christian music, and then it's sports radio, and then it's country music. And then it's classic rock.
Okay.
It's a little bit of everything, right?
Mix, yeah. You can't argue with that. So, all right, 2 more quick things. So when you walk outside, we have the jet in the parking lot, and the guy says, all right, Melissa, get on. I'll take you wherever you want to go. Where do you go?
Wow, that's great. I would probably go to Paris.
Good answer.
Nice.
Thanks. So I'm not failing. So
That's
far, so
fantastic.
good. Okay.
The good thing about this is there's no wrong answer. So,
and there's no jet, right?
Well, I didn't want to tell you, but there's really not.
I made them return the jet.
Okay.
So, all right, last one. And so when you're headed back to the office, a spaceship lands in the middle of the road. You got to stop because there's a spaceship in the middle of the road. That's kind of what happens. And door opens. Alien comes down the walkway and says, "All right, Melissa, take me to your leader." Where do you take him?
Would I win if I said one of y'all? What do I win?
You win a parting prize.
What do I win?
Yeah, unfortunately, flattery will get you nowhere at this.
It'll get you a playing above the line cup. Yeah.
As right as this sounds, it also sounds very calculated. But I would say my dad.
There you go. That's great. I love it.
Nothing wrong with that. Melissa, thanks. This has been very eye-opening and enlightening and informative, so we appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy day to come visit with us. We appreciate it.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much. I love any chance to talk about camp.
That's fantastic. Thanks.
Please take a few minutes to find Camp Rappahope online to learn more about what they do. Their website is www.camprappahope.org. and they are on Facebook and Twitter as Camp Rappahoe.
Well, thanks for listening to our podcast today. To never miss an episode, subscribe to Playing Above the Line at iTunes and anywhere else you get your podcast. And be sure to leave us a rating. We'd love to know what you think about our show.
To contact us or to stay connected, follow us on social media at HBKCPAS on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.